Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. Jim Riley here with Rod Kuntz.
Good morning, Jim.
Rod, rocking and rolling today, buddy.
Yes, we are.
I liked your little rant about people and their jobs and complaining.
I think we all need that reminder now and again. Just stop it.
Well, to listen to people complain at work about their work they're doing, and you're there hustling. It's like, come on, man. I'm here trying to ignore what you're putting out, and you're bringing everybody down. I don't think people realize the impact of complaining. I mean, you obviously ask for the job. You probably need the job. Just go there and do an awesome job at it. Make the most out of it.
Exactly. And be grateful.
And it's
grateful. Like I said, even if you're not grateful, just don't complain. Just that's one step in the right direction, just getting rid of the complaint category. And this is something that if there is something legitimate to complain about, then don't complain. Find an avenue to fix it, right?
Yeah.
Go to the right person, file the right forms, come up with some solutions, and get them in front of the right people to correct the problem rather than complain. Do something.
Well, I'm going to bring up a topic that I don't agree with at all, by the way, but it could be a problem. And that is, this isn't the topic for the day, by the way. If you're at work and you're a complainer, you can be replaced because if you're complaining, you're probably not putting out a good product. You're probably not doing a good job. You're probably bringing people down. Now, when you look at the fact that 10 million illegal immigrants have come across the border, okay. Now, right. I believe that 99% of those people have ill intent. And you can argue with me about that, not you, Rod, but whoever. But let's just say a small percentage of those people do not have ill intent and they're here for jobs. Guess what? If you're the complainer, you're going to be replaced by an influx of a whole bunch of new people. So figure it out. Be grateful, like Rod said, for the job that you have. Do the best you can do and bring value to the company. Otherwise, you could be replaced.
Everyone's replaceable. And I saw somebody had posted this, Jim, and I wish I could give them the right credit, but it was taking a look at, once you pass away, that everybody mourns. You go through a mourning period, and your family might go on missing you forever, but it lessens. They'll remember you on holidays and birthdays and that sort of thing. But the rest of the world's going to forget you. Within a year, probably the rest of the world will forget what you've done other than your family. And in 10 years, nobody will know you. And in one generation, unless you've done something incredible, something with a lasting impact, nobody ever will remember you or know you outside of your family. And even then, with each passing generation, less and less likely. So what kind of an impact are we to make? And it's certainly not about us. It's about how we serve other people. That's the impact we need to look at, not just the here and now and what can I get for me? What can I get for me and my family to edge myself up the food chain? What are you doing that's going to cause a lasting impact on the world? That's a big challenge for anybody. I don't care how many millions or billions you have. Lasting impact on the world, that's a tall challenge.
That's a heavy topic. We could just shut the show down and call it a day. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. Let's make a difference. Start over again. So I do have a topic today, and I want to get into it now. And that is finding success in a crowded market. And, when you look at businesses and business opportunities and brand opportunities, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's not too many original things. And oftentimes we allow that crowd to discourage us from doing, that what we're dreaming about doing, or pursuing a dream, or pursuing a business that we think or know we're good at, because we think it's a crowded market. And I'm here to say, after working in multiple businesses in a crowded market, that you can find success. Your brand can find success. If you want it bad enough, you will bleed through and you'll find success in that. And Rod, I was thinking about some of your background today. I don't think it was too crowded of a market when you're out there coyote hunting on the east side of the middle of nowhere with nobody out there. But I do know that you ran the Army Navy store that sold supplies, same supplies several people in town sold. And I'd be curious, in that business, how did you overcome a crowded city and a crowded market of some of those products? And I've got some examples as well, but I'd love to hear your take first.
Well, you want me to dive into that first? The coyote market was in fact crowded. I mean, it's not like everybody and their mother was out hunting coyotes, but there was a lot of competition. You think of, I had farmers and ranchers that had airplanes, right? They have their small pilot, their small Cessnas and stuff, and they were hunting out of airplanes because it was off season. They're not planting. They get their equipment worked on. They were out hunting. So I had, in the coyote and the fur market, there were people with helicopters that were hunting. There were people with airplanes that were hunting. And so what we did was we worked the areas because the animals knew where they could go to be safe, which was under power lines, right? And in creek bottoms, heavy brush areas. And so we would go kind of back cleanup. We'd let the airplanes, the helicopter hunters go in there and we would go in and get all the animals that they had forced into these little niches. And so we had competition, but we found ways to work with it. And plus there were plenty of hides for everybody in that market. So in the retail market, and I loved it. To me, it was a game of chess. It was a game. So I didn't get stressed about it. It's just like, wow, this person's having a going out of business sale. What's that going to do to, our regular customers? They can go there and get these supposed deals of 40% off. And, we did all kinds of things. We branched out into different markets. We got into, Boy Scout attire, the Cub Scouts, Webelos, Boy Scouts. So people had to come in and get, their uniforms, their books, that sort of thing. So it brought in a whole new clientele for that. We branched out. I told you before, or maybe I told our group, we did mail order. I was mail ordering to Alaska when things started slowing down here in the logging business, So there are ways to do it, but ultimately, and we did layaway. Not everybody did layaway programs. And there were people, if you needed back then, a $250 pair of boots, which is like $500 now, custom made boots, people didn't always have that money just lying around. So we did a layaway program and we did special orders up the wazoo. I don't think anybody, if somebody came in looking for something, if I didn't have it, but I knew I could get it, I got a deposit and I ordered it for them. It was that extra customer service. And you have to listen to people. What's the holdback? What's the objection to doing something? And the easier you can make it for someone, the better it's going to be for them and for your business. And that's not always easy for the business to do. It's extra effort. It's extra work. You've got to track it. You've got to hold the inventory. You got to make phone calls that you wouldn't normally do. But doing the extra is what kept us ahead. And I don't think we ever had a year. I was in retail for 10 years, and I never had a year that was below 15% growth from prior year ever in 10 years. That's 10% growth, 15% growth, 25% growth some years. We were always looking for new markets, new niches to bring in new clientele, new customers to see what we had. And that's on you as a business owner to always be creative, always be looking. But to your point, I don't think there's such thing as an overcrowded market because there's always room for what you do, the individual portion. And you have characteristics, passion, and knowledge that no one else possesses. And that's what your obligation is, to tap into that. If you're passionate about what you want to do and you can offer something that, even if it's the exact same thing and you offer it for more money, but you offer knowledge or extra service, there's room for you in that market. You create your way, bully your way in, right? But do it with finesse, do it with passion, and people will appreciate it. They will notice it. They will refer other people to you, and you will develop the clientele that's right for you and your business and your market. So there's no overcrowding. Overcrowding and overcrowded market. That's an excuse. That's what that is.
100%. And that's the point of this show today, because I don't want people to stop before they get started. They fall in love with something, then they take a look at the market, it's like, oh no, it's so crowded. I'll never be able to make a dime. And that's just not true. One of my examples, and Rod, how about thinking about some steps that people can take as they build their business out to identify some of their strengths so that they do stand out when I tell the story. When we were launching Kettle One vodka across the country, you would say at the time that vodka was very crowded. Absolut had this incredible advertising campaign. They were recognized worldwide for their marketing efforts and their marketing genius with the bottle and all the different designs that bottle became in the pages of every magazine you'd pick up. Stolichnaya out of Russia, they were all over the place. Everybody had to have Stoli, and they were coming out with new packaging. And it's Russian vodka, it's the best. And the last thing that anybody was thinking about was launching a vodka in what appeared to be a crowded market. And everybody that we talked to would say the same thing. Oh, the market's so crowded. Well, what we leaned into, our strengths, were two things. One, our flavor profile, and I'm going to touch on that in a minute. And two, the family history. The family had been around and tracked for 11 generations, all the way dating back to 1691. And what we did, or what they did, is they created a very short video walking consumers and buyers through the history of the family and their distillation of spirits, the importance of the ingredients they use in this video that we showed to everybody. And it was all the way back to 1691 to present day. And yeah, they spent a lot of money on the video, but you know what? We sold a lot of cases of vodka because of that video. People connected to the Nolet family in a way that nobody else was doing. Now, the other side of that was they found a niche within the vodka category that there actually indeed is a flavor profile. Now, vodka is defined as odorless, colorless, tasteless spirit. And oftentimes people are looking for that because they don't want to taste it in their drink. Well, we identified that indeed Kettle One had a taste because of its base foundation being made from the wheat plant, right? So wheat gives a different distinct flavor to that distilled spirit. Wheat happens to be the second best product or grain to make vodka spirits out of because how pure it is distilled, rye being the best. At any rate, we did taste tests for every single buyer and as many consumers as we could. And what that taste test consisted of was, on the left, you tasted warm in basically a small flute glass, Grey Goose vodka, which at the time was the number one selling luxury vodka. So you tasted Grey Goose, and it had a very distinct flavor, almost a bitterness to it. And then you tasted Absolut, which had this vodka bite that we're also familiar with. And then you tasted Kettle One. By the time you got to the third drink, your palate has already been shocked and desensitized, by the way. But Kettle One has this unique, natural, smooth, textured, bold, flavored vodka. And it always stood out. People 9 out of 10 times would say, wow, that is amazing. We found a niche in a crowded market, and we created a system of selling, which was through the taste test and the history of the brand, to stand out amongst all the clutter. And that brand grew to be an over 2 million case brand before the Nolets wound up selling the rights to it to Diageo. By the way, it was almost a $2 billion deal on paper, right? So when people come to me and say, I want to launch this, but it's a crowded market, I remind them, find your passion, find the things that you're good at. Like you said, Rod, earlier, you have your own unique personality, just like Kettle One did. It had its family heritage and a taste profile that they knew was different than others, and lean into it. Find
absolutely
where your success can be. So I don't know. Do you have some tools for people to evaluate themselves or their company or what they're doing to help them stand out?
Well, I think the first thing is just know what your strengths are. And your strength is going to be your passion. Your passion, don't underestimate your passion for something. Number one, that's a strength. And number two is your knowledge about it. Your knowledge about Kettle One. When you become knowledgeable about what you do, it forces you to become knowledgeable about what others do. And that's what gives you that edge. That gives you a competitive edge because you know what the differences are. So even if other people don't know what they're looking for or tasting for, in your case, you can tell them. And then once it's pointed out, it's like you can't unsee things, right? We've all seen the, a diagram, a painting or something, and is that a dog or is that a rabbit? Or is that, we see that, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so it's our job to expose the differences and to highlight those differences in such a way that it gives us a competitive advantage. And don't underestimate that, because everything you do is different. And it might just come down to customer service. It might come down for your passion to take care of people after the sale. And if you just focus on that and what is giving your competitors their advantage, and how can you level up if that's what it is? If you don't already stand out, how can you stand out? So it can be a marketing strategy, but marketing your passion and marketing your knowledge is a marketing strategy. You mentioned it. It was a video, a company video. And, I was in the car industry for a long time, and the last 8 years I spent in Subaru. And Subarus are unique, and that they tout that. So any good Subaru dealer, when you came in and you were saying, I wanted to look at a car, the first thing that a good salesman did was bring them over and say, I'm glad you're here. Let me show you what makes Subaru different than everyone else. Mm-hmm. It's got a boxer engine, which gives it a lower center of gravity, which makes it safer, okay, and a higher ground clearance. In our neck of the woods, that matters. So just one thing, a boxer engine, lower center of gravity, it's safer. You don't get the roll, when you're going around corners. And then you start talking about, the WRX, on off-road racing. Subaru leads the pack on off-road when it comes to winter driving and that sort of thing. And then we had videos, roller tests of cars going up icy hills. And you'd have a Subaru and all the major competitors, every single one that were all-wheel drive. And the only one that would make it to the top consistently on any surface was the Subaru. And Subaru dialed into that. They knew they had something. Symmetrical all-wheel drive outperformed every other all-wheel drive system on the market, with the exception of Volvo, which came close, but not quite as good. So once you knew what the differences were, you educated the customer up front before you even showed them a car, before you even talked price. And even if they went somewhere else, no one could refute the truth of what you've shown them. So the only time we would lose sales would typically be because of style, or we didn't have the inventory on hand, or somebody else had a better price or a better financing program. But we didn't lose because our product was inferior ever. We had people call and apologize for buying something else sometimes, which is a good place to be. Any industry is like that, though. Any.
And if you're listening thinking, well, I don't have a Subaru, in terms of what your business plan is, you can find that niche in anything.
Exactly.
It's just about finding it and standing out. Listening to you, thinking about some of my history, some of the companies I worked for, some of the stories. I love when companies personalize as well. We did a lot of personalization at Kettle One. Every son of the son was named Carl, right? And so the last Carl Nolet Sr. had two sons. So first one, of course, was named Carl, but the second one's name was Bob. So everybody used to tease him. And Bob was brilliant. But everybody like, oh, there's Bob, because Bob, he's not a Carl, right? But that stuck. Like these little personal stories, these little things stuck. His dad used to tell a story about growth worldwide, and they're like, oh, they asked, Germany came and asked us if we would open up the German market, and the dad said, I won't open the German market up until you return my bike. And they're like, return your bike? He's like, yeah, the Germans stole it during World War II, and until that bike's returned, I'll never sell to Germany. Like, it's a quirky, probably realistic story, something that stuck in his mind, but you remember those things,
right?
They stick. And sometimes the thing that separates you apart is the most random of things. I was thinking about In-N-Out just now too. In-N-Out, at the time that they started in 1948 and the early to mid 50s, they were competing against McDonald's in the drive-through business. This is sunny Southern California, the drive-through business. Everybody was in a car. And you know what In-N-Out did? They decided that they would buy up a bunch of freeway property And they wanted to be known for, and this is where I say be different. They wanted to be known for clean bathrooms. They realized that drivers are on the freeway and yeah, you have to go, but you could always get off the freeway and have a clean bathroom at In-N-Out Burger. And to this day, you find most of the In-N-Outs near the freeway, and you will see an emphasis not only on the cleanliness of their stores, but also the cleanliness of their bathrooms. They want you to know that you can rely on them to provide that service. Now, that's pretty quirky, but it works. It works. Who doesn't want to use a clean bathroom as opposed to that gunky old dirty service station, right? And so the point is that there's always something to set you apart, are ways that you can be creative to set yourself apart and find success in a crowded market.
Absolutely. And that gets into your marketing strategy. If you're building a business plan around something, that should be part of your marketing strategy too. How can you be different? Are you going to bag the merchandise in a high quality bag that shouts, yeah, this is durable, this is lasting, this isn't a bag you just throw away? What messages are you sending your customers in everything that you do? And the other thing I want to talk about real quick, Jim, and I know this is not on topic, but it's at least related, and that is, don't sell yourself short in this process. And if you don't, we had, I don't want to point anyone out here, but self-deprecation is a killer. Mm-hmm. If you're saying, well, I'm not good enough to be the spokesman for my company and I need to hire talent or I need somebody else, that's not true. And I just want to for an example, let's look at actors. Look at some of the most successful, most popular actors. I can think of some, I'm not going to name them, some with big bent up noses that are very successful actors, some with huge acne problems, from their youth, and they're, Academy Award winning actors and actresses. It doesn't matter. If you think that your physical profile, your physical stature is something that is going to turn people off, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. It's only going to do that if you think it is a problem. And so no self-deprecating humor, no self-deprecating comments. You are the spokesman for your product, your service, your company, and you should be proud of that because people don't look at those things. They really don't. Society might tell you that they do, but people are looking past that. A good, savvy consumer is looking past that, and you want the good, savvy consumers to be your buyers. They're going to be your long-term, lifelong customers and clients. And they're going to do it for you and the person you are and the values that you hold, not what you wear, what you drive, and how you look.
Well, and Rod, that's a wonderful point, especially when you talk about the competition and standing out. Sometimes your own personal, the way that you present yourself, your own characteristics will make you stand out more than the next guy. I was quickly was thinking about Andy Frisella, whom I love his podcast. He started First Form supplement company. Now, when Andy had barely found any success, they were struggling in a very crowded market. He was attacked in the streets and his face was slashed a number of times by a guy wielding a knife. And Andy has a terrible scar across his face. And he said that for almost a year, he hid himself from the public because it was so bad. And I think it's been 20 years or more now. So it's kind of hard to see, but not really. Anyways, Andy talks about that scar and being in that industry. Eventually, he turned it around and used it to his advantage. So he'd go to all these big shows with all the other vendors there, and people started referring to him as the guy with the with the cut face. Oh, you're talking about the guy with the big cut on his face? Yeah, I know. They're so nice over there. Their product's great. All of a sudden, what he thought was the worst thing ever that had happened in his life became a trademark of people remembering who he was and his amazing personality and his product.
There you go. What a great example.
Oh, even the worst of worst things. So look, I'm going to wrap it up there. And so this is what I want to tell everybody that's listening. Don't allow a crowded market to get in your way of finding success for your brand, your goals, your visions, your desires. If you're looking for help in that, we'd love to have you in the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. That's why we do this show. We try to bring a little bit more value, but we also have the syndicate to bring value and help your way. we've got some incredible marketing people in the group, in the community. And that's outside of my experience, Rod's experience, and Rachel's experience, who are all involved with this. And, we can dive into those things for you. We can get on group calls with other community members and just go, all right, what makes you stand out? What's going to give you the strength? And that's the power of having a community around you. We built the syndicate to have community and to support one another and to tell more of these stories or give you more of these ideas and help build your business. So I'd love to have you there. We're growing. We're fine-tuning. We're getting better and better every day. The tools and resources are better every single day. And Rod, I don't know about you, but I love our Monday night calls, and I love to see new members in our group.
I love to get on those calls. And it's amazing too, because I know the value that's in those calls for anybody, everybody. And I was thinking about this. There are people who have masters of business, MBAs, and they can get on our call and learn something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is something to learn for absolutely everybody, regardless of how long you've been in business, what kind of degrees you have, what kind of experience. You can learn something from anybody. And we have a lot of somebodies in our group. So that's an awesome thing.
Rachel gave an AI seminar this last Monday. Now our calls are an hour. They start at 6 p.m. Montana Standard Time. That's American time right there. Yeah. And it goes for an hour. So 30 minutes of basically a classroom lesson type setting, then 30 minutes of open Q&A on any topic that you might have. Most people will ask about the topic of discussion, but it doesn't matter to us. We're there to help. But Rachel gave I think 36 slide presentation on AI, and then uploaded all those resources into the back end of our community so that our members had access to that. If you're not familiar with AI and you're not familiar how to use the tools, it'd be worth becoming a member just to have access to that PowerPoint that she put on the back end, because that's a $3,000 seminar. That's a $5,000 seminar. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But, the tools that she threw out there and now available to our members. And by the way, my wife has been working hand in hand with Rachel the last 6 months on a lot of AI stuff. It's incredible the things that they're doing. Rod, I know you're a fan. I'm a fan. But that's just one little example of some of the stuff we're doing. So anyways, I think I oversold that a little bit, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Both of us, all of us are.
So right.
Join us, the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this show, please share it. We appreciate that. We're happy to take any topics on. Don't tell Rod, just tell me. And I'll fling them at him at the last minute and see what he can respond with. So Rod, always good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim.